Good evening and salutations, my Days of Lies fans. This episode was so boring. This episode was so boring. Oh my goodness, I felt like it was a chore to actually try to watch this episode. It was like 90% boring, 10% interesting. 10% being Charlie and Ava. 90% being everything else. Sean and Bella got married, and that was great for people that like Sean and Bella. I'm not gonna lie, sitting up there watching their vows, I was just like, oh my goodness, is it over yet? I honestly, tell you the truth, I'm not gonna lie. Halfway through their vows, I actually had to pause it and decided to watch something else. I watched this interview with a guy named Joseph Morgan. If you don't know who Joseph Morgan is, he was a guy who played Klaus on the originals. It is my favorite supernatural show ever, and I needed to do something to wake me up. So I watched that interview for 10 minutes and I came back and I finished watching it and they got married. So, yay. Now, in the beginning of the episode, you got Ava still tied up. And you got Charlie monologuing at this point. And, you know, he's still upset with Ava because he's all like, oh, well, you're going to turn me in and I just couldn't let you, you know, turn me in and stuff like that. And he's snipped there talking to Claire before. He was like, you know, I can't wait to, you know, come over there. Just have some last minute rapping and stuff. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of laughed a little bit. But then he ungags Ava and Ava's all like, oh, we should, you know, you're right, I'm not going to turn you in. You know, now Trip is fine and, you know, you and Trip are going to be okay. And I'm like, you know, you must have mentioned Trip like 3 times because I'm pretty sure he was keeping count how many times you named the favorite son. And so, you know, she's trying to do all this whole, you know, you let me go and, you know, I can make something called the seven fish or something. I've never heard of that before in my entire life, but okay. She's like, I can make some fish or whatever. And Charlie's like, yeah, that sounds really great. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. No. So he just winds up leaving her there. I think he might have played one of the Christmas movies or whatever, and basically was like, you know, I wanted that fantasy ever since I was a kid, but I'm not a kid anymore. I mean, listen, Charlie is a terrible POS, but before that, it sucked. You know, she didn't want to be a mother to him, and you know, it's something that he's been dealing with his whole entire life. And the fact that, you know, when they do, you know, connect and stuff like that, that his first thing that she asked him to do, pretty much, is to track Trip and, you know, see where he's going and what he's doing and stuff. And I'm like, wow, okay. So at this point, he's like, yep, and he leaves her there, TV's blasting loud or whatever. Apparently, he doesn't have any neighbors, so okay, sure. So he goes to the party, and, you know, he's talking to Claire and everything, and, you know, he's meeting everyone, and then Allie shows up, and, you know, he has this look in his face like, oh, like this cold sweat just comes over him, and Allie's all like, oh, you look like, you know, you look familiar, you know. And, you know, Charlie's just like, oh, I guess I just have one of those faces, you know. And, you know, at some point, you know, because he's holding this box, he was like, oh, this box is really heavy. Let me just, you know, I got to go and set it down. So he just kind of walks away, and, you know, Claire is just like, what the hell was that about? You know, the whole time he's sitting there talking to Claire, I mean, he's talking to Allie, and Claire is just like, what is going on? Like, you can see the facial expressions in Claire's face where she's just like, why is he acting so weird for? You would think that this is kind of a red flag, especially some of the other red flags that Charlie has gotten, you know, had as far as, like, dating Claire, but Claire is just... Listen, I don't dislike her character. I just find her to be very vapid. And, you know, I felt like the biggest red flare is when he had this attitude when she went to go surprise him. And now you got this going on. And at some point, Charlie's like, oh, you know, my stomach is not feeling so good. I'm feeling sick or whatever. And, you know, she's like, do you want me to come with you and stuff? She's like, no. I don't want you to, you know, ruin your Christmas Eve or whatever. So I'll just go. I'll be fine. I'll call you tomorrow. He just leaves. And when they take the picture, because, you know, they're doing a family picture or whatever, and they do the picture, and Claire, I should tell you the truth, I think they should just redid that picture. I'm surprised that they just took the picture, was like, nah, it's cool, and did not bother to just do a once-over and just make sure everything was fine. What was I? But yeah, it's just like, what was that about? And she talked to Allie at some point. No, I think she either talks to Allie or she talks to Allie, and, you know, I was like, you know, where's Charlie at? And she's like, oh, well, he wasn't feeling good. And Allie was like, I mean, like, all of a sudden, like, out of nowhere. And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of the first time that I can really sit there and say that Allie actually said something smart. I'm pretty sure she probably said smart things before, but I might have been too annoyed to really kind of notice it. But the fact that Allie was like, he just left out of nowhere, like that's kind of odd. At some point in the conversation, I don't know if this is before or after, they take that picture or whatever, but, you know, she's like, you know, he seems familiar. And I'm not gonna lie, I gotta kind of wonder what happened and why she's having so much trouble remembering. I mean, I know she drunk a lot and stuff like that, and she remembers Trip, but somehow you, like, didn't remember, like, you didn't remember Charlie at all throughout this whole thing. I don't really understand that, but then again, I'm not exactly a seasonal drinker, and I don't really too much understand how blackouts work. Well, anyway, so, okay, fine. But I feel like at some point that memory is gonna come back to her, and it's gonna hit her like a bolt of lightning, and yeah. Also, Will is back, so there's that. I say that because he didn't really add anything. So he comes over, well, you know, Nicole's all like, oh, what, Erica's supposed to come today, you know, come and visit and stuff, and, you know, when there's a door, you know, doorbell rings, or they're knocking the door, you know, Nicole answers like, oh, it's you. Like, Jesus Christ, you... And she didn't even, I don't even remember if she actually even said sorry. I was just expecting somebody else, but it was just like, you know, Will came back, Allie and Will talked, and he apologized for his part as far as, you know, his plan, well, his part in Sammy's plan as far as the whole adoption thing go, and, you know, they're cool or whatever now, but other than that, I'm not gonna lie, he really didn't add anything to the story, and yeah. Also, Nicole really didn't add anything to the story either. Not gonna lie. And, you know, I want to sit there and mention something, and this didn't happen in this episode, but this happened in a couple episodes before. And it kind of threw me off a little bit. At some point, Nicole, in one of those episodes, she was like, oh, well, you know, we've got to hurry up or whatever. Otherwise, Hurricane Alley is coming home soon. I was like, no, seriously, stop. Hurricane Alley? Okay. I get Hurricane Sammy. Because Sammy's a wild card. Sammy is the type of person that she doesn't care if, you know, you just had your wedding, or you're in the middle of having your wedding. She'll decide to start throwing down cake, everything. She doesn't care, you know. Literally, she's a hurricane. Okay, I gotten that off of one scene. But Hurricane Alley, no, I don't find her to be a hurricane. I find her to be a lot of things. I find her to be annoying. I find her to be a moron, and kind of find her to be a bit irresponsible. in certain instances. But a hurricane? No. So I don't know why they decided to start calling her Hurricane Alley, but please, I really hope that they stop. Anyway, again, Nicole didn't really do anything, except for towards the end. When somebody knocked on the door and she got all dressed up or whatever, and she opened the door, and then the episode ended. Which I'm assuming at this point, which is probably tomorrow, I'm guessing, Sammy comes in. So, yeah, there's that. I'm assuming it's Sammy because it can't be Eric. The way she paused, like she knew it wasn't Eric, but it's like she said something but then realized it was the wrong person, so she kind of like was stuck on that word. So I imagine it's not Eric. And plus, I don't know, I just think that he just left because he's doing more Hallmark movies or whatever with Alice and Sweeney or something. I don't know. What else? There were some scenes with John and Marlena talking about a Christmas movie and he was sad about it or whatever. I don't know, I guess it's maybe a kind of an inside joke that I don't know about since I haven't been watching the show that long. Maybe he cries every holiday, whatever. I'm not really too sure. But I'm not gonna lie, that scene didn't really go anywhere. There was another scene that didn't really go anywhere was when John and Brady were sitting there talking. I don't know what that scene was about. It seemed like it was a very cute Hallmark kind of thing, but again, I can't really describe it because it didn't really seem like it mattered. And I was thinking about this whole episode. This whole episode really did not seem like it mattered. Ava spent the entire episode trying to untie herself, and right towards the end, right when she unties herself, she opens the door, and Charlie is there. Other than that, this episode was exactly like yesterday's episode. Mostly a waste of time. So I'm going to title this episode, or this review, mostly a waste of time. Because I feel like that's appropriate. Oh, and again, Bella and Sean got married. So there's that. Sammy called, and Marlena didn't answer the phone and left a message saying something. Of course, Bella didn't want any parts of her because Bella was still upset that, she released Jan Spears. But then again, I think from what Sammy said, Sammy was like, she was on her way of getting paroled early anyway. She just sped it up along a little bit, but still, bad on Sammy's part. But, that's Sammy, because, yay. Yeah, they got married, and again, if you're a Bella and a Sean fan, you're gonna like it. I personally really didn't care. Except for Sean kept sitting there talking about how it's just easier to, give people e-cards instead of actually taking the time and the energy and the effort to find something that someone would actually like. But whatever. I have many lazy qualities, so I cannot fault him on that one. And I think that's about it. Again, this episode was just 90% boring, 10% interesting. And hopefully tomorrow we'll get to the other interesting part with Charlie and Ava and Trip and I guess Kayla. And that's actually going to do it. I can't really think of anything else. If you thought of something, let me know in the comment section. Also, two other things that I want to sit there and talk about. So on Instagram, there's a lot of people, because I follow some of the soap stuff or whatever, and there's this picture of Kristen, the person who played Hope. And, people were writing out the comment section, I hope she comes back one day, and I'm like, I don't understand why people are writing that for her. She's not coming back. She's not coming back. Like, that was it. She spent the majority of her life playing that one character. She ain't coming back. I don't understand why people keep writing that for her. Also, this is a picture of her in the 90s, and oh my goodness, did she capture that 90s beautiful, sexy, style. I looked and I was like, wow, is that like the same woman? And what I mean by the same woman, I don't mean by age. I mean by work. Like cosmetic work. Which is actually pretty sad because she was beautiful. And I know that like she would have aged and she still would have been beautiful. So I don't know why on earth did she decide to get the cosmetic surgery that she had, because damn, she looked amazing. Also, Sammy, the woman, Allison Sweetie, I guess. I said a while ago in a couple of my videos or whatever, I was like, I don't understand. How did anybody ever actually go out with Sammy? Like, how was people actually married to this woman? And I'm not gonna lie, I saw a picture of her in the 90s and I was like, oh, wow. I feel stupid because, damn. I was like, what? And granted, she still looks good. And I'm really happy that she did not seem like she took that whole cosmetic route or whatever. But I definitely understand why people married her. Why people stay with her is an entirely separate story. But I understand why people married her. And yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this episode. And I'm probably gonna sit there and say this a couple of times. I know they're doing an episode on Christmas. I'm probably going to be with family on Christmas. If I'm not, then I'll probably just review it. But if I am, then I'll probably review it on Saturday. And yeah, that's how she's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this episode. You know, the rant was actually longer than the... it was like the rant was actually longer than pretty much almost anything positive that I actually had to say about this episode. And that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe. And I will catch you in the next review.